Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolute bedrock of all biblical teaching by looking closely at Genesis chapter 1. Whether you know this ancient text by heart or you're really looking at it for the very first time, this single chapter sets the stage for literally everything that follows in the biblical narrative. It's the ultimate origin story of the universe, and we are going to jump right in. So let's start by asking the big core questions this text is trying to answer. Why does creation even exist? Who actually created the world? Who exactly is God? And maybe most importantly for us, what is humanity's purpose within this grand design? You know, these aren't just dusty, ancient philosophical musings. They're the fundamental questions of the human experience. First things first, what does the word Genesis actually mean? Well, it literally translates to beginning or origin. Written under God's inspiration, this foundational book sets our baseline. And right from the opening lines, it reveals God not just as a creator, but as a powerful king, a life giver, and an incredibly orderly designer. That was actually a huge radical departure from other ancient creation myths at the time, which usually featured chaotic, warring gods. Here, the creation is deliberate, it makes sense, it's structured.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're looking at the foundation, the blueprint of life, the pinnacle of creation, the grand design, and finally, living the design.
Okay, let's kick things off with section 1, the foundation, before time began. You probably know this verse by heart. Genesis 1:1 is arguably one of the most famous sentences in human history. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. What this reveals is absolutely profound. It means time itself had a starting point. It tells us that God is eternal, He existed before creation, and He made everything out of absolute nothingness. Creation wasn't some cosmic accident, it was planned, and everything ultimately belongs to Him. Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. Think about the state of the earth right after that initial creation. Verse 2 tells us the earth was without form and void. Basically, it was an unfinished, empty canvas. But it wasn't abandoned. The text says the Spirit of God was moving or hovering upon the face of the waters. This beautifully demonstrates God's active presence, His incredible power, and His deliberate preparation to bring life and order to this empty space. Moving right along to section 2, the blueprint of life, 6 days of creation. I absolutely love the architectural symmetry going on here as we march step by step through the 6 days. Notice how days 1 through 3 form the habitats, the spaces. Day 1, light and darkness are separated. Day 2, sky and waters. Day 3 brings dry land and vegetation. And then, watch this, days 4 through 6 perfectly mirror them by creating the inhabitants to fill those exact spaces. Day 4 fills the sky with the sun, moon, and stars. Day 5 fills the seas and skies with fish and birds. And finally, Day 6 brings land animals and mankind to fill the dry land. It's like a giant puzzle coming together. And this progression isn't just physical. It brilliantly illustrates how these elements carry profound spiritual lessons for us, too. Look at Day 1, bringing light into darkness, represents holiness, truth, and life. Day 2 shows us God is a God of order, not confusion. Day 3 teaches us that just as creation reproduces after its own kind, a healthy spiritual life produces fruit. And Day 4 gives us a crucial reminder. Those heavenly bodies, they are created objects meant for signs and seasons. They aren't deities. We are supposed to worship the Creator, never the creation. Which brings us to section 3, the pinnacle of creation, made in God's image. By comparing the events of Day 6, we see something amazing. First, God creates all the animals, livestock, wild animals, everything. And they're all created with incredible wisdom and purpose. But then, there's a massive shift. God says, "Let us make man in our image." He intentionally creates humanity male and female, both equally valuable before Him, and He uniquely hands over dominion and responsibility over the earth. So what does being made in the image of God actually mean? Well, it's a real game changer. It means humans are entirely distinct from animals. We're wired with a unique spiritual capacity, moral understanding, and the profound ability to actually relate with God. Plus, we're given the authority to care for creation as stewards, not to destroy it. This means human dignity isn't something you have to earn. It's literally given by design. Every single human life has immense, intrinsic value. If you read through the chapter, there's this rhythmic, repeating drumbeat. And God saw that it was good. It shows that creation perfectly reflects God's wisdom and beauty. But at the very end of Day 6, right after humanity hits the scene, The text shifts to say it was very good. Why the upgrade? Because with humanity in the picture, the design was finally complete and totally uncorrupted.
Let's zoom out a bit for section 4, the grand design. Major themes.
Notice the sequence of how a sovereign God operates here. The text constantly repeats and God said. Step 1, God speaks. Step 2, creation immediately obeys. Step 3, incredible order and life are established. Think about that for a second. God is the ultimate source of life, and he transforms complete and utter chaos into purposeful structure just by using his voice. Now, don't miss this connection. Later on in the Bible, like in John chapter 1 and Colossians chapter 1, we are explicitly told that all things were made by him. It's a vital theme. Jesus isn't just presented as the savior in the biblical narrative. He is actually the creator himself.
All right, bringing it all home with section 5, living the design, practical applications. So what's the so what here? What does this mean for us today? First, we are called to worship the Creator, recognizing that all the beauty we see points directly back to him. Second, we have to respect human life because every person you lock eyes with bears the image of God. Third, we can trust God's power. I mean, if he can transform a dark void into a vibrant universe, he can for sure transform our lives. And finally, live with purpose. Absolutely nothing in this design is meaningless, and you were created intentionally. Before we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a real gut check of a question. Human nature loves to worship the stuff that was made, money, status, nature itself, rather than the one who actually made them. So, will you trust the Creator more than the creation? Ultimately, just stepping outside and looking up at the sky reminds us of that incredible truth from Psalm 19. The heavens declare the glory of God. Genesis 1 isn't just an old history lesson, it's an invitation. It invites us to learn more about the one who designed the whole shebang, to trust his word, and to live according to his brilliant, purposeful design. Thanks for joining me today, and keep exploring.